Many movies follow the hero journey and incorporate archetypes and symbols. One such movie is The Matrix. The Matrix presents the adventure of Mr. Anderson, who goes by Neo, as he discovers that he has been living in a computer-generated world and that the real world has been taken over by machines. He is believed to be the one who will eventually free the human race from the oppressive job of providing the machines power and restoring the world once again. First, I will explain how the Matrix follows the hero journey. The first stage is the Meet the Hero stage. In this stage, we meet the main character, Neo, and witness him in his ordinary world. He is shown sleeping with his head on his very messy computer desk, surrounded by CDs and books, among other things. We get the idea that he moonlights as a hacker and makes deals under the table with clients. In another scene, we see him at work where his boss has called him in to talk to him about his poor performance. The viewer can see that the hero, Neo, isn't comfortable in his daily life and just doesn't seem to fit in where he is now. The next step is the call to adventure. At this point, Neo receives a package at work. It is a cell phone which rings as soon as he opens it. It is Morpheus, the man who is seeking Neo's help. Morpheus informs Neo that there are men looking for him in the building, and if Neo follows his instructions, Morpheus will be able to get him out safely. Neo follows all of Morpheus's instructions, up until Morpheus wants him to walk out a window onto an outside ledge of the building and reach a scaffold. At this moment, we experience the refusal of the call. The refusal of the call occurs when Neo can't muster the courage to follow Morpheus's final instruction to walk along the ledge and reach the scaffold. Neo says to himself, "Why is this happening to me? I'm a nobody, and I can't do this." His failure to follow this last instruction leads him to be captured by the men instead. After waking up in his own bed and believing the whole thing to be merely a dream, Neo is shocked when the phone rings and it is Morpheus asking if Neo still wants to meet him. He says he does and goes with other members of Morpheus's group to meet him at an abandoned building. This is the meeting the mentor stage. Neo is then presented with two options, the red pill or the blue pill. If he takes the blue pill, he can return to life as normal and not remember any of this. Or he can choose the red pill and be shown the truth. Neo picks the red pill, and thus the adventure really begins. It is at this point that Neo crosses the Threshold Guardian. In The Matrix, the first Threshold Guardian is Neo's physical crossing over from the Matrix, the only world he's ever known, into the real world. Neo wakes up in the real world to find himself hooked up to tubes inside a strange pod filled with liquid. He then sees for himself what has become of the human race. All that Morpheus has told him about how the machines have taken over and are using humans as a power source is true. Just as Morpheus had told Neo before, what he was going to show Neo is not going to be easy, but it will be the truth. Neo begins training with Morpheus and, like Morpheus, begins to believe that he might be the one. Neo has found his place in the extraordinary world and wants to help. He's also really beginning to discover who his friends and enemies are. He has met the people on board the Nebuchadnezzar, Morpheus's ship in the real world, and they all seem to be there to help him. Morpheus is an obvious ally and serves as Neo's mentor. Other friends include Trinity, who helps Neo in his fights in the real world, and characters with slightly smaller roles. Mouse and Switch, Tank and Dozer, and Cypher, also known as Mr. Reagan in the real world. Neo has also come to realize that the machines are the enemies, and what appears to be their leader in the Matrix, Agent Smith, poses the greatest threat. The next step is the feast. This stage appears in multiple scenes. One is when Neo is having a drink with Cypher. Another is when Agent Smith and Cypher have a dinner at which they plot the handing over of Morpheus. A third is the unpleasant breakfast Neo shares with the other members on board the Nebuchadnezzar. The feast leads right up to the Heart of Darkness. This is the lowest point for the hero, and when the hero feels the most hopeless. In The Matrix, the Heart of Darkness is when Morpheus has been taken hostage by Agent Smith with the help of Cypher, who betrays them. In addition, Cypher, who is back on the Nebuchadnezzar and in charge of bringing the team back from the Matrix, literally pulls the plug on Switch and APOC, killing them, and shoots a laser gun at Mouse, Dozer, and Tank, killing all but Tank. At this point, Neo and Trinity barely get back to the real world with the help of the injured Tank, and now wonder how they will save Morpheus. At this point in the movie, Neo's friends and enemies have changed a bit. Some of his friends are dead or in grave danger, and Cypher has been added to his list of enemies. However, Tank does manage to kill Cypher. The second threshold guardian is crossed when Neo and Trinity re-enter the Matrix to find and save Morpheus. This begins the chase and leads to the final test. For the final test, Neo must overcome many obstacles while finding and saving Morpheus. Here the hero risks his life for the greater good. Morpheus is an essential part to saving the human race, and Neo knows he must risk his life to save this leader. During the chase, Neo is literally chased by Agent Smith and fights valiantly against him and other agents with Trinity's help. The major fights are on the roof, in the hallway when he stops bullets by simply putting up his hand, and the final battle in the train station. Neo and Trinity succeed in saving Morpheus, and they return to the real world just in time. The ship has been being destroyed by machines, but we don't really see the cleanup of this devastation. The cleanup stage seems to happen off camera because the next scene indicates that things have been worked out. The next scene shows the final stage, the second meet the hero. In this scene, Neo is shown at a telephone booth in the Matrix. He no longer seems misplaced there. He speaks confidently of the trials he must face in the future and shows purpose in his life. He is the one and will save the human race. He has become a master of two worlds. The Matrix has many archetypes. One archetypal symbol is the desert. When Morpheus shows Neo the real world, he says, "Welcome to the desert of the real world." This is a fitting archetype because the desert represents death, hopelessness, and desolation, all things that have tragically become qualities of the real world. The Matrix is also filled with symbolism. There is a lot of name symbolism specifically. For example, Neo means new in Latin. It is also an anagram for one. Neo's real name is Thomas Anderson. The name Thomas relates both to doubting Thomas from the Bible, when Neo doesn't believe he's the one, and Anderson means Son of Man, which helps connect Neo as a Christ figure or symbol, being one who is willing to sacrifice himself to save others. And this just skims the top. The Matrix is a movie filled with symbols, archetypes, illusions, and takes us on the journey of a hero. The more times you watch it, the clearer the symbols become.